Okay, so today I'm hoping that those that are in attendance, as I present this topic on trusting and being trustworthy, that if you've got any questions, please ask them along the way, even if we're not to the end, because who knows, I may have missed something. And if you do have a question, I'd like to circle back around. So when it comes to the concept of betrayal trauma and trust, it kind of follows a pattern when we think about trust. Trust takes years to build, seconds to break, and forever to repair. And so today we're going to talk a bit about some information that will help you in repairing your own ability to trust. So having someone break your trust when they are in an addiction as the betrayed partner, you're left feeling hurt and shocked, sometimes physically sick. We've talked oftentimes about just the impact that is so, all encompassing in the betrayed partner's life. In some partners, they even start to question the relationship. Do I stay? Do I go? How do I know if I can stay? How do I know I can ever trust again? So it really shakes the foundation of the relationship because now you're uncertain regarding things like, will they be truthful? Can I ever be vulnerable? Are they being vulnerable and authentic? Are they really doing recovery? So the betrayed partner is not only wrestling with all this new information, and they're seeing the betraying partner doing better, then that becomes very suspicious as well. So let's talk a little bit about understanding trusting and being trustworthy. And I was having a conversation with a colleague this week, and we were talking about this in relationship to working with couples who have experienced, addiction and betrayal trauma, and kind of looking at it through the Prodependence lenses. So I'm going to share with you a diagram she shared with me, and then I took it to my groups. And we actually talked about it. And my group said that it was really helpful in kind of understanding where they're at any given time in their recovery process. So hopefully you can see this. I tried to do my best, at putting together something that you can see.
Hold it up just a tiny bit more because we can't see the bottom.
How's that? Can you see that? A little bit more?
Yes.
How about
in
that?
Closer. Right there. Okay, good. Okay, now in just a tiny bit more.
More, a little more?
Okay. Yeah, that's great. And feel free to email that to me, and I will. And then those of you that want a copy, you can email me, Tammy, TAMI @seekingintegrity.com. But super helpful. Okay.
Perfect. Since we don't do screen share, I thought this was the next best thing. So if you look at the horizontal line, I want you to think of the horizontal line as the trusting. So that would be the betrayed partner. And the perpendicular line, the line up and down, is the betraying partner or the addict partner and the trustworthiness. So as you can see, I've got positive on one end of each of those lines, negative on the other. So on this end with the betraying partner, we have trusting, and on this end, it's the distrust. And then of course up here, we're trustworthy and the addict partner is untrustworthy. So the interesting concept is to think about where you're at. When a partner prior to discovery or disclosure, they believe that their reality is my partner is trustworthy and I can be trusting. But the reality of it is that I'm trusting, but my partner, my addict betraying partner, is actually untrustworthy. And what I find throughout recovery is that this is just like a scale, right? Moving back and forth. So the betraying partner is going to find that immediately after discovery of the betrayal or disclosure of the betrayal, they're going to be right down here. There is going to be no trusting. Their partner is completely untrustworthy. And then oftentimes as they're working recovery, what happens is the partner spends a lot of time, the betrayed partner, up here. They're, seeing their partner as, maybe I can't trust, even though he's trying to show me that he's being more trustworthy. So it might go back and forth in that quadrant. So I hope that's helpful to kind of understand trust, because lots of times what I'm seeing is that if we don't understand the process of regaining and rebuilding trust, that this can become a point of contention with a couple who's in recovery. So let's talk just briefly about what trust is in relationships. I love Charles Feltman, that Brene Brown quotes him sometimes about what trust is. So here's his definition of trust. And I want you to think it in the context of connection, disconnection. So trust is choosing to risk something I see as valuable and vulnerable to your actions. So I'm willing to connect myself in vulnerability and risking whether or not, right, what I value, you hold sacred. And distrust is what is important to me is not safe with you. So therefore, I have to disconnect. Again, so trust is what I hold sacred to me. I feel like I can be vulnerable with you and connect with you and share that. Distrust is the opposite. So how do you know if it's safe to connect? How do you know if there's enough trust there? So here's what I see presenting. One of them is the betrayed partner coming into my office who, after 6 months of working with me and being in recovery, says, well, my husband told me I'm not working my recovery. And I said, well, what do you mean? And she says, well, he's telling me that he's been the number one person in his group. He's doing all of his recovery. He's breezing through it. And he just can't understand why I don't trust him. So to him, I'm not doing my recovery. And I said, well, it's only been 6 months, and how long has your husband experienced his addiction, right? How long have you known about it? This was a case where it had been happening over the course of several years with repeated disclosures or discoveries. Another one is that they are constantly asking the betraying partner, gosh, you really should trust me right now. Can't you see I'm trying my very best? And somehow there is something wrong with the betraying partner because maybe they're still doing some of their safety-seeking behaviors because they really aren't sure if their betraying partner is safe and secure. Now, internally, what's going on for the betrayed partner is they're constantly scanning the relationship. That includes scanning the environment, watching their partner's behaviors, sensing intuitively what they're feeling. And they're always asking themselves, is my spouse really telling me the truth? Is my partner really honest with me? Can I trust what they're saying? I have fallen for their lies in the past, and am I still falling for them? So I thought it would be kind of interesting to approach trust from what is healthy trust, so you can see and kind of measure whether or not you have elements of it already in your relationship. And then you can also define, what is still lacking. Then we're going to talk about some specific behaviors. Okay, so I'm going to share another little diagram with you. So Tammy, if you will help me, let me know if I've got that where everybody can see.
That's perfect. And next time we can screen share. So next time have stuff ready. Yes, but I can see this 100%. Perfect. So great. Okay.
So I like to think of percentages. So when I have no trust in somebody, I have 0% trust. So for example, this might be somebody I'm talking to in the grocery store line when I'm, checking out with my groceries. I don't have a relationship with this person. I have not established any type of trust with them. So now let's apply this kind of percentage of trust level. Remember, trust isn't an all or nothing approach, because if we look at it as all or nothing, either I trust you 100% or I can't trust you at all, or you can never make a mistake, as a betraying partner, as the addict partner. Even if you have a slip in your recovery and you go through and you do everything you need to do, you take all the right steps. And again, we're not talking bottom line slips that are, black and white, the end of a relationship type slips. But there are sometimes that maybe they don't do their dailies, the addict partner. And you as a partner might see that as, gosh, they're slipping. And if they take accountability, if they are doing what they need to do, when I am experiencing betrayal trauma, I might not be at 100%. So remember, at one point in the relationship, I went into the minus category. So when we think of trust, we can think of it as 0, and we can go into the negative. So with betrayal, the cheating, with pornography use, my trust level might be at a negative 100%. Another thing I find interesting is that sometimes when we'll come into group and their partners will tell little lies, and it's almost like maybe they felt like they were in the positive, and that one little behavior, the fact that they wouldn't tell the truth and be transparent with something little, might throw them back down into we're negative 75 in what I can trust. So what we're trying to do is continue to move up. I have found that lots of times we get into the positive when there's that formal disclosure process. We begin to move past the 0% and into the positive. Another one that I see really throws trust levels into the positive is when the addict betraying partner shows empathy and vulnerability and openness. And then we're staying more and more in here as both partners are doing their recovery. So I hope that's kind of helpful. So what I want you to do is, I'm doing the positive and negative. So as we go through this list, remember there is fluidity in recovery when we're rebuilding trust. So let's talk about what are some, we're going to call them trustworthy indicators. So these are in general for all relationships, romantic relationships. I'm also going to kind of put it in the context, though, of as a betrayed partner. First of all, you need to see that there's, mutual respect, okay? Is your partner who betrayed you treating you respectfully? So for me, that would be no criticism, right? They are gentle maybe with where you're at in your process. You might have a bad day and have lots of triggers. So can they still be respectful? And likewise, you need to be, as the betrayed partner, respectful to the betraying partner. So that shows up in how they communicate with you. It's how they interact with you. It's how they treat you. Another one is, do they have consideration for your needs? Are they checking in? Are they looking at it through the lenses of, you have certain needs that are going to help you begin to reestablish trust, and they're willing to help meet those needs? Are they dependable and supportive? Dependability, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, in the realm of consistency, is so important. Is there empathy for your feelings as a betrayed partner? Are they empathetic about your concerns, your fears, your insecurities? Do they validate your reality? Do they try to step into the feelings you may be having? Do you hear them express commitment to the relationship and to your future? So I think that that is not only words, but there's got to be congruent actions. So I'm seeing it. So it's a factual thing. I'm hearing them say, I love you. I'm hearing them say, I'm committed. I'm hearing them say, I'm going to do whatever I can and work my recovery to help restore and reestablish trust. And then you see them do it. Another one I like is, are they creating space for you as a betrayed partner to feel emotionally safe? So for me, in betrayal, it would be that even when I may be having a trauma response, right? Can they sit there and hold space without criticizing? Can they just be there? Can they try to attune to me and what I might need in the moment? Maybe they can come back around and ask, what can I do when you're having a difficult time? How can I create that healing space for you? Also respecting and honoring a betrayed partner's physical, emotional boundaries, both of those. And I'm talking healthy boundaries, right? We're talking the safety boundaries. And that is really key. Can I trust you that when I tell you I need this for safety, that you're willing to honor that. Another one is showing congruency in all aspects of your life, showing consistency in all aspects of your life. So one area that the betrayed partner really needs to see consistency is with the addict's shame. Can you recognize your shame? Can you put your shame aside rather than turning around and in your shame blaming me? So if you can do that with consistency, right, then and congruency, right, that you're taking accountability rather than blaming, that's the congruency piece. Trust can be reestablished and rebuilt. There's openness and showing up authentically. Are you telling me how you're really feeling or expressing emotions? If you disagree with me, are you just not going along with it? You know, are you sharing with me, the betrayed partner, how you're really feeling, right? Maybe it needs to be in a gentle way. We might need to figure out how we communicate it, but are you doing it in a very open, authentic way? So as a betrayed partner, you need to recognize that rebuilding trust is a process. It doesn't feel like everything in recovery is a process. It's not the destination. It does take patience and time, because you, as the betrayed partner, what you're trying to do is to integrate the new truth of the months or years of deception into current reality. That takes time. So recently this showed up with a client who had disclosure, and going in fully prepared, all of a sudden she, as the betrayed partner, started to put the timeline together with events that occurred within their marriage and when they had children. And all of a sudden for her, it's like, gosh, I don't know if I can trust him, right? I start to doubt that again, because she's got to have time to create a new narrative, to figure it all out, to know that her partner is taking the right steps, right? And doing that formal disclosure, that healing disclosure, but I still need more beyond that. I know sometimes that the betraying partner might think that disclosure is the, okay, that's it. Now I've reestablished, trust. So things should be easy from this point forward. And it's not always the case. And most oftentimes it isn't the case at all. So rebuilding trust does require both partners to work on this. And so that's one of the things we start to work on in our women's group, in the healing group. And that is, we've got to figure out how to recognize the signs of trust. What do I need to experience? What do I need to recognize as a need and put a boundary around? Can I then sit back, be that compassionate observer and watch if my partner's doing it? Can I really have clarity in recognizing what my partner is doing right? Not only what they're not doing that I need, but here is what the progress they are making, because it's really important. Can I surrender? We talked about surrender last time we met. Can I surrender the pain, right? And in that way, maybe sometimes I have to surrender the pain and allow myself to trust in this moment, because I know that I have the ability that even if my partner isn't trustworthy, I can trust in myself to be able to handle the situation. Okay, so here's what I see partners need to experience. This helps them to understand if their betraying partner is trustworthy. Number one, they need to see proactivity. They need to see the betraying partner take actions on their own initiative. So that's really difficult when you, as the betrayed partner, don't see the addict partner doing recovery the way you like them to do it. And so one of the ways I see the betrayed partners starting to feel safer and more secure with their partners is when they see them doing things like making their own therapy appointments with their counselor without them having to remind them. It's them going to their groups and creating that time and space for as many groups as they need, not just one a week, but if they need more, if maybe they're working a recovery program, but maybe they're also doing SA, Maybe they're dropping into a prodependence group because they know they need the added support and the extra information. It might be that they're initiating check-ins. I know that my betrayed partners, one thing that helps them rebuild trust is if you share with me what your recovery experience is and allow me to share with you what I'm learning and experiencing. Oh my gosh, that's such a foundation for rebuilding trust. But it even has more power if the addict partner, the betraying partner, initiates. Another one is, are they offering safety along the way? Does my partner check in with me and say to me, for example, would you like the passwords to my phone, to my email accounts, to my computer? Another one is sharing information before they even have to ask. How this has shown up is I might have a client whose husband maybe did some of these acting out during work hours, right? When he was on a job site. So he might come to her and say, okay, what do you need from me so that you feel safe when I'm at work? So maybe it's check-ins. It might be if you're going to lunch with coworkers, you don't go one-on-one with female coworkers, especially those that kind of fit into, kind of the template of your addiction. But to be even safer, it would be any females. So in that particular case, or if, let's say, your partner is addicted to drugs, it's that you don't hang out with friends who even are drinking or using drugs. Regardless of whether or not you feel like you're in recovery, that doesn't feel safe for me. So being proactive, sharing things that might come up that might be a trigger for the betraying partner. And those are things that you, as the betrayed partner, can ask for. The second item we talked about is consistency, right? There has to be consistency to build trust. We've talked about this. We've talked about consistent recovery over time rebuilds trust. That is the simple equation. So as the betraying partner, you need the addict partner to follow through on anything and everything they commit to do. And that's something that you can verbalize and express. I have had betrayed partners report that when they aren't consistent on some things that are important to the betrayed partner, it feels like betrayal all over again. And it's confusing for that addict partner because it might seem so small. Well, you mean I told you I was going to pick up groceries on the way home from the grocery store, and just because I didn't, you're having a trauma response? Well, you committed to doing it. And now it's just because, it's rubbing up against all of that wounding, right? You don't feel safe when you don't follow through. So if you're not following through on picking up groceries, what else are you not following through on? So in that recovery process, we need to keep that in mind regarding consistency. There is to be no small lies. So that's what it looks like. So the addict partner, you show up when you say you're going to show up. So if you say you're going to be home at 6 p.m., you better show up at 6 p.m. or you better call and let them know when you are going to be showing up, right? If you say you're going to do 2 recovery meetings a week, you better do the 2 recovery meetings a week, or you need to consistently go to your partner and let them know when there's a struggle or there is a scheduling conflict, and working with your partner on how can we work together and rework this so that you can maintain this consistency. Another step another way is to really work on having your needs met. As a betrayed partner, we need that. And I need to see my addict partner caring about what I need as well. So the person who broke the trust needs to check in with the person who's betrayed and ask them what their specific needs are. What do you need from me in this moment to help feel like I'm safe and secure and you can trust me? What do you need from me today? What do you need to see me doing so that you feel like I am rebuilding trust with you? Keeping in mind that what the betrayed partner needs today is going to look different tomorrow and next week and 6 months from now. I love it when I have a group member come in and share that, I used to need him to call me every hour on the hour to check in. And now, if he'll just call me at lunchtime and check in on how my day's doing, right? That's meeting my need for trust, for rebuilding trust. Okay. So you don't wait for the person you betrayed to tell you what they need. You have to go ask. So if you're a betrayed partner, you want to be seeing that. That's one way to know that your partner is actively considering your recovery and your needs. And you can do the same too. I think it goes both ways, because I do believe when we want to create connection. And so it's not all or nothing. It's we've got to do this together. Another one is openness. This is an absolute requirement. So when we think of openness, we think of honesty. They're two sides of the same coin. So honesty means that if I, as a betrayed partner, ask a question, you tell the truth no matter how hard it is to share and how hard it is to hear. Openness means you tell me the truth without me having to ask the right questions, without me having to come after you and kind of just stay on you and ask again and again and again and interrogate, right? It's you just freely impart the information I need to feel safe and secure in this moment. And with openness, it means that I communicate free from shame and blame. And so I am going to be open about my behaviors, what I need to take responsibility for, what I could do better for my betrayed partner. And I am willing to step out of my shame. Another way it looks like is that you have to talk about even the simple things you're doing. So as an addict partner, it would be something like, I had this one come up, that there is somebody at work that wants to communicate, a boss, and it's a female boss after hours, and they want to do it text messages. Well, for the betrayed partner, this doesn't feel safe, right? I don't feel that I can trust you in this scenario. So what the betraying or addict partner had to be open to was, how can I do this, maintain my job, and also help build trust? So what the agreement was and the solution they came up with is that the betraying partner was open to asking his boss to include the entire team on the text messages. Also to set a boundary of, I'm not going to be able to respond to your text messages, after hours or on the weekends. That created safety. So the betraying partner was open in sharing the situation, open to the solutions, and open to being, following through and being consistent. So you can see these all overlap some. We have talked about this one before, and that is the next step is vulnerability and empathy. To me, they go hand in hand. So vulnerability is the very reason that people have become addicted and they lie about it. They're afraid to show up and tell the truth because they fear their partner's judgment. They fear the consequences. They fear the rejection. They fear the anger. And all of that is justified, a lot of that, as a result of the addict's behaviors. But if you really want a relationship to get back to where trust and that trustworthiness is reestablished, then the addict partner has got to be completely vulnerable in everything. So what that looks like is you take off the armor that protects you, you step out of shame and blame, you listen to your betrayed partner, even though it's really hard to hear it and it feels really awful to discuss the topic that they brought up. It is for the betraying partner to connect with the emotions that the betrayed partner is experiencing, even if you don't logically agree with it. You have to try to look at it through their lenses. It is going to be difficult. It requires that addict partner to really double down and work on some hard things. And one of the things that I see couples struggle with as I work with them as they're trying to reestablish connection after betrayal, and we're trying to get everything right, feeling safe and secure again, if the addict partner doesn't show up with vulnerability and isn't honest with their feelings and where they're at and what the truth is, what their truth is, it's hard to reestablish that connection. And then the last thing I'm going to mention is ownership. So ownership is just what it says, that you see your addict partner taking responsibility for their actions and the impact that those actions have had on everyone around them. And then you see them taking responsibility in an ongoing manner, consistently over time, with honesty, with openness, with vulnerability. Another thing is when you make a mistake, you're going to see your betraying partner admit, hey, I blew it. I made a mistake, right? What can I do to repair it? Or that was my intention at all. I didn't intentionally do this. So tell me, how can I do it differently in the future so it doesn't create hurt? It also looks like you don't minimize your actions as a betraying addicted partner or addict partner. And then you overemphasize, the betrayed partner's reactions. It means that, yeah, I can recognize why that would be hard on her. I can't manage that. I can't speak to that other than creating safety for myself, but I can't minimize what I've done. So anyway, I hope that this kind of gives you some different ways to look at reestablishing, rebuilding trust, and for the betrayed partner to become more trusting and the betraying partner to become more trustworthy.
I want to go back to the example of the client that you used. I hear those kind of stories all the time where it's like, well, it's been 6 months. You should be over it, and look how trustworthy I am, even though it's been years or often decades of time that they've been untrustworthy. And it felt like, to me, blame shifting of like, it's your problem that you aren't trusting me. You're not doing your work, rather, like I'm getting a gold star with my group. So now it's you. But all of the stuff that you shared was about, the actions from the betrayer, of how it's showing up differently, having empathy for this, taking ownership of, all that. So how do you help support a betrayed partner that's coming in feeling like there's something wrong with them, that they aren't trusting after a mere, and I'm going to say mere 6 months?
Well, with that, we had to talk about the reality of what recovery looks like, and the responsibility, who's responsible for what, right? And the fact of the matter is with this particular client I worked with, because there's been years of betrayal, we had to look at it through that context. My metaphor I use is that, it takes 9 months to birth a baby, and it takes 9 months to adjust to having a baby in your life until you feel normal again. And that can be applied in some cases, not all, to even the recovery for the betrayed partner. Gosh, I had 20 years of on and off discovery and disclosure, right? It could take me 20 years and beyond. And so, first of all, I talked to that betrayed partner about having self-compassion, right? And then we look at, okay, what is your need? So this partner doesn't feel safe yet. What do you need to see? So in this case, she needed to see him be more open and vulnerable about what he was doing in recovery. He needed him to not blame shift. She needed him to let her progress at her own speed, because she is coming in twice a month for individual counseling. She's attending a group weekly. She's reading. She's working in workbooks. She's doing, reaching out to her group consistently. So for her, it's going to take time to reestablish trust. So I've really been working with her on how to speak up, how to express her needs, how to set boundaries around it, and how to ask for the ability to just take all the time she needs to recover. And we haven't even done disclosure yet in this case. So for me, I see that as a healing formal disclosure is so pivotal in a case like this client's. So we can't really start to fully reestablish and rebuild trust until she really understands the depth and the details, to me, of the addiction.
Well, and I made a note about disclosure too. It's like a formal disclosure, but only if it's well done. So, when it gets hurried just to get the information, and like you said, that unfortunately, mistakenly thinking that, oh, then I'm going to know, and then we're going to be able to rebuild trust or go back to the way it was. And so a well done one. And unfortunately, I often hear, where even though the addict has been told a zillion times, don't lie, don't minimize, don't, and they still hold something. So it really is a process. And if both parties, are well prepared and it's done well, it really can be a stepping stone, to rebuilding trust. I really also, and I want to get to the questions, but I love the diagram. I thought it was so helpful for your actual reality and your perceived reality. And that is like, you have this reality and this is what you think, and then you get blindsided by all of this, and so there's your actual reality. But like you're talking about too with these partners, the addict has known for years, decades, that they are doing all of this and the partner didn't. And so their clock starts with discovery, and it's so 6 months for a partner who has been in the dark for years or decades. If you do the math on the time, it is unfair. I know why addicts I want to get through this. I want it to be better. I want her to forgive me and move on. And, I want us to be okay. And so I get, and everybody wants that, but rebuilding, on a solid foundation is going to take time and action. So, okay, we have questions. I don't want to minimize those. So first question, my SA husband has been in recovery for a year. We got a partial disclosure billed as a full disclosure 11 months ago with a trickle all year, culminating in the worst, unprotected sex with prostitute and a few others just this past week. He waited until we moved back in together and had a month of reintegration after 10 months separation. I'm horrified and I feel like I'm back at D-Day all over again. He never even disclosed these to his therapist. Can a couple recover from this? Oh, Debbie.
So first of all, I just want to really, my heart goes out to you, because that is a very difficult situation. I mean, to have you have to go back to what you felt, and that original, D-Day, that's hard. It's a hard place to be. You're back in crisis again. You're reliving it all over again. It's kind of like having a real life flashback. You're living it and playing it out in reality. And so I imagine it's very overwhelming. I imagine the pain is very deep. And it's very confusing too. It's like, what's your next step and what do you do? And is there any hope? That's the part, I think, that when we re-experience the same thing again repeatedly, and this one, and maybe it even gets worse each time, that then hope kind of fades away little by little by little. The reality of it is going to take a lot of work. That's the reality. And until the addict partner truly wants to do recovery, then you can do all the recovery work in the world, and that requires openness and honesty, right? We just talked about that. And I have had a partner deal with this same thing, several of them, as a matter of fact, and they thought they had full disclosure, and then we end up having 3 additional ones that progressively got worse, after the initial disclosure. And that was done in a therapist's office. Then we went back and did a healing therapeutic disclosure with all the therapists involved. And then because of where I work, and we have somebody that we trust for polygraphs, not everybody does this, but at our agency we do. And even prior to the polygraph, more came out. So it's very, very difficult. Again, as the betrayed partner, may I really recommend that at this point, you do what you need to do to create safety for you. So I go back to some 3 basics. Number 1, make sure you have healthy human connection, people you can turn to, because while you're in this crisis, it might be even difficult to function. So I'm not sure that your SA husband is going to be the person you can turn to, and he can really show up for you, and he's not going to be a safe person. So hopefully you have your own recovery group. If not, I really encourage you, get a qualified therapist, somebody who understands betrayal trauma and how to recover from it. Find a group to attend, sex and relationship healing. They've got wonderful groups you could immediately step into, especially while you're in this crisis. Look all of those over and start attending those groups. Also, make sure you're taking care of yourself. I think right now at this point, your number one focus is get through this crisis. And if you need to separate again, you might need to separate again, because oftentimes I see the betrayed partner they're so activated, right? I'm so into all of these trauma responses, and I feel so unsafe, right? Because of this rupture to this attachment now, and again, that you can't regulate. So getting regulated is going to be number one. Can a couple recover from this? Like I said, I always hold out hope, but it's going to take a lot of work. The reality is that not only do you have to do work, and it's going to be hard for you, I think it's going to be really hard for the addict partner, even harder. And there's so many levels and aspects to this. So right now, rather than focusing on can the couple recover, my recommendation is let's work on helping you recover. Let's work on finding stability for you, getting you to where you feel more grounded, you feel more stable, so that you can determine what the next step is. And so that would be my advice. Tammy, do you have anything else to add to that?
Well, I do, because you say he's been in recovery for a year, and I'm going to disagree with all due respect that recovery doesn't look like this. Recovery isn't constantly hurting betrayed partners. So he may have stopped the behavior a year ago. I don't know. I don't know when the unprotected sex with prostitutes is. Please, for your personal health, get an STD test. Please. I know that's embarrassing and shameful for many partners. Take ownership of, this is my body. I got one, I please feel empowered and get an STD test. This is the kind of client we've had. So far, the record is someone went to their therapist for 11 years and lied, and I was like, why bother? But I'm sure he was checking off the boxes. But please consider a higher level of help, because what he is doing currently hasn't been enough. You did a therapeutic disclosure, so I'm kind of assuming you both have a qualified professional. So, like Debbie was talking about, lean into your qualified professional. We have lots of free. You're here, fantastic. But we have the betrayed partner groups on sexandrelationshiphealing.com. We just had a betrayed partner work group start this week. I don't have the next one scheduled, but we'll have another prodependent work group, starting. Those are 6-week courses. So there's lots of support. You are not alone. I do, my heart goes out to you. Whether you can heal as a couple, I know for sure that you are resilient and you can heal regardless of what he does. So hold on to that. And it's up to his actions, what he chooses to do, but you can, with support, you can heal and you can have joy. I promise, it'll take a while, but hold out that hope for you, regardless of what he does. So.
Yeah, thank you for adding that safety piece. It's so true. You've got to look at your physical health as well, right? We've got to make sure that you stay safe. And so really right now it's about creating safety for you. I kind of like that's the theme at this point is you've got to establish and create safety for you.
Yeah.
So that you can get grounded again and you can kind of get back into, feel a little more like you're, back in, you've got some equilibrium. So thank you for sharing.
He's lying to you. He's lying to himself. He's lying to his therapist. He is far from recovery. So you take care of you and get help doing it. So
yeah, and let me add, you talked about seeking integrity, and I did have a client who There wasn't truth told. Somebody else had, outside of Seeking Integrity, her partner had gone to another, facility to do work on sex addiction, and none of this came out. Went to Seeking Integrity, and there was such a shift in her betraying partner's behaviors, and finally full honesty. So I just want to second what you said.
Thank you. Our clinical director says, tell the truth and tell it faster. And it's not, you were talking too about, like, if you say you're gonna be home by 6 p.m., Dr. Rob shares in Out of the Doghouse that one of his examples used, and it was a client, and he said he was gonna take out the trash and he didn't. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and she filed for divorce, because it was like, this is, if you can't be honest about taking out the trash, like, so it really is, there has to be actions, and actions and truth, and it's hard for addicts, but it's not an excuse that I'm an addict. And no, we have to work harder at being truthful. I mean, it's just, we are in a position where we have to work harder to achieve truth, than a person that just knows how to do that. We didn't get that, but we can learn. So
yeah.
Okay, next question. My wife says that staying with me is betraying herself. She came back into the relationship with me after I disclosed my use of porn and all the lies and deceit that came with that, paraphrasing. We have been back together, and she wants a divorce again, saying that she can feel it in her body that living with me is taking a toll on her, and she is betraying herself, thinking that how she can stay with me with someone who did these things to her. Can you help me gain a perspective on her feelings?
That's a great question. And I appreciate the fact that you're asking about that. So it sounds to me like you've got a situation where your betrayed partner feels so unsafe. And I'm not sure where either one of you are at in the work you've done. That would be very helpful in knowing, have you taken the steps to get into a recovery program? Are you working a specific recovery? Are you seeing an individual therapist that works with this type of an addiction and has the knowledge and the qualifications to do it? Are you able to communicate with her and ask, what do you need me to do to create safety, to show you that I'm in recovery? But she may not be there. She may still be in a place, if she's back and forth and trying to figure out, if she's staying or if she's leaving. That's really hard. That's a hard place to be. So I guess, you're saying that she wants a divorce again. Again, one of the things we have to kind of separate is the fact that we can't control our partner and what they choose to do. That's the unfortunate thing. Even though we may have a desire for our betraying partner to be in recovery, or a betrayed partner to trust us again and want to stay in the relationship, sometimes that's out of our control. All we can do is focus on ourselves. We can reach out to our partner and ask, what do you need? We can express commitment to the relationship. We can express, I don't want this relationship to end. Tell me what you need, making sure maybe you get in and you're working not only with your individual therapist. Sometimes I've involved a third therapist as a couples therapist to kind of help sort out, are we going to continue forward, or is this really going to end up in divorce? Sometimes you just need to slow it down a little bit. I have found with couples, get each person regulated and doing their recovery. We say don't make any big decisions, when you're in crisis. When we have people coming through our program, we recommend they don't make any of these types of decisions for 12 to 18 months while they're working recovery. So the perspective is, you've got to understand she's in crisis in this moment. She's having a very difficult time holding on to any hope for the future. She is feeling physically in her body like you are a threat. So there's almost like a trauma response. So even being with you causes her to have a racing heart, possibly to even have images in her head that they're intrusive. It can be that she's suspicious on everything you do. So she's constantly either hypervigilant, looking for what's going wrong, looking for why she can't trust you. So her system is revved up all the time, or it's so overwhelming, she's shut down. She may not even know what she needs. What it might be for the betrayed partner is, I know in this moment that I feel so bad and this is so overwhelming that I feel like my only option is to leave. And yes, a betrayed partner is going to be extremely sensitive. She's going to sense things and feel it in her body that she can't trust and she needs to leave. And that could be her trauma. That could be the betrayal trauma. So with my clients, like I said, I want to get them stabilized, get them out of that crisis. Then I want to start working on the betrayal, getting them back in their body, helping them to heal and get to that place where then they're in a space where they can make a really logical, emotionally regulated decision as to whether or not they need to move out of the relationship. So I think if you can look at her through the lenses of, here's somebody who's in trauma completely, and she's seeing this as her only option. And for you, create safety, ask her what she needs for safety. And again, keep in mind that, you don't have control over her choices, but you do have control over continuing to work your recovery.
The next question. Hello, I've been with my SA husband for 20 years. He's had 3 affairs in the past 10 years. The most recent affair partner is still lingering. We've been trying to reconcile for 2 years since his first D-Day, but he's continuing to betray me with the affair partner. He's been in fake recovery for 2 years. I'm drained and ready to give up. He takes no initiative to do any recovery work. He's still abusing me with lies, gaslighting, stonewalling, etc. He's very inconsistent in therapy, has never been to group. Everything that Debbie has said about betrayed partner needs to feel safe, he doesn't do consistently. I don't feel safe at all. I just caught him again last Thursday with GPS, etc. He denied everything and lied, and I showed him proof. I'm so fed up and mentally exhausted and ready to leave. But at the same time, I don't feel ready to leave him. He makes all sorts of empty promises and manipulation to get me to stay, and there's no follow through.
Okay, well, I want to honor the fact that you're not ready to leave him, and that's understandable. So there is no judgment there, because there's so many factors that I'm not even aware of as to, why you're hoping that this relationship will work. You do need to look at the reality of your situation. So lots of times with my clients, and this is really hard work in therapy, but I'm taking them through, okay, let's look at the reality. I'll make them do a pluses and a minuses. Okay, tell me all the things he's doing to show you the positives that he's doing recovery. His intention is he wants this relationship to last. He wants to get into a better place, right? And what are the negatives? What are you seeing him do that shows you he's not in recovery? He is not focusing on the relationship. And then as you look at that list, how does that make you feel, right? Really tapping into, what does that make you feel? And as a result of what you're seeing him not do regarding recovery and how that's making you feel, right? What is the reality? What are you perceiving it as? Sometimes our perceptions are that, yeah, he's promising, so, I'm just going to hold on to the promise. When in reality, when we look at the actions, we see, here's these actions up here, and here's all the broken promises down here, And so I really like looking at it through the context of capacity and willingness. I've talked about this in the past. Right? First of all, does the betraying partner have a willingness to change? Are you seeing them do whatever it takes? Right? And willingness is so key. That's the internal motivation that I want to get better. I want to heal from my addiction. I want to repair my relationship. I want to step out of what I've been doing that I know is destructive. Right? That's willingness. Capacity is having the skills and tools, the ability to do my recovery. So I tell my clients, when you're in a relationship with a partner, what's their willingness? And we talk about that. Okay, what's the capacity? What are you seeing them do to show you that they are doing recovery, so that they are increasing their capacity to stay in recovery, to rebuild this relationship? And that is a very interesting conversation to have, because I see light bulbs go off, because all of a sudden they're realizing, Well, gosh, we look at it as buckets, right? How full is his willingness bucket? And if it's really low, and then I see that capacity is really low, then that's a hard reality to face. What you're going through is so difficult. And sometimes you have to sit in it for a while. And you have to, because a lot of it is about the fear of moving forward. Our fears keep us in a relationship and hoping. And so, again, I'm going to circle back around to what I always say: get support, get people to help you. I am amazed that when I see somebody who has been struggling in recovery from their betrayal trauma, get into a group, start working their recovery, they become different people. They see clearer. They're able to have confidence in themselves and trusting in themselves. They can trust that they have the ability to move forward, because based on what you've shared with me, your sex addicted husband is not in recovery. He is in his full-blown addiction, and it is not a safe situation for you. So I talk to my partners about the safety of that. And again, creating safety. We've got to, for you, creating safety. So is whatever that looks like. And that could be a whole nother topic that I could go on and on about. And so you're welcome to reach out to me separately if you want some ideas on that. We can even talk about it in another, webinar.
Yeah, and I just want to quickly add, I agree. He's not in any kind. He still has his affair partner. He's completely in active addiction. He has his home and you, and he still has his affair partner. He has everything he wants, and he's not doing anything for you. I encourage you to set your healthy boundaries. Whether you stay or go, what do you need for your health? Again, STD test. But what do you need to do for you? You know what? Often, not always, but often when the guys come to our treatment program is when they're pushing up against a boundary, and sometimes it's a separation or a divorce. And I'm not saying you need to go there, but often when they start bumping up against the reality of that, and they can't straddle the fence of, oh, affair partner wife, that's when they start going, oh, wait, I really do need to get some help. So
yeah, I've got a handout. I've got a handout I give to the women I work with, and it's kind of that U curve. I don't know if you've seen it, but on one side it shows you all the behaviors, the thinking, and what you're seeing when somebody's in their addiction, right? Talks about hitting rock bottom. And oftentimes we, as the betrayed partner, have to get strong and set certain boundaries, right? And then what we see if somebody's in recovery, and I give it to the women I work with so they can kind of determine, okay, am I seeing somebody who's really working recovery? Am I seeing they're doing this, and this? Maybe they're not doing this and this, but they're doing some pretty big things. Which side of that, U curve are they on? So that's very, very helpful. But definitely, like you said, there's no recovery work being done there.
No. So this is the next question. Love this webinar, Debbie. 2 hearts. What do you recommend that I do when when I've asked my betrayed husband on multiple times that I'd benefit from more check-ins? My request initially after his formal therapeutic disclosure was 3 times a week that he initiates. He has not been successful in meeting these. I see the value, but he is missing the mark. I feel this is another bid I'm making, and he's just not making this a priority. Do I place a consequence? What do you recommend?
Okay. So I think this is something great to ask. And I do see that this is a struggle for a lot of betrayed partners. So you're not alone in this. I want to tell you that this is something we come up against all the time. I really love the talking boundary. I tell my clients, I want you to journal this out, because a couple of things to keep in mind. Yes, we can put a boundary around this, and I'll tell you what that is in a moment. But we've got to have clarity. You've got to be able to, communicate in a way that, the recovering partner, we're going to call him a recovering partner, can really hear you. Okay. And then if you feel unsafe, then we're going to create a boundary around that, and there'll be a consequence. So talking boundary, 4 parts. Number 1, you're going to share what you're seeing. It's the facts. When we've talked in the past about doing a recovery, I've heard you say you would be willing to do a check-in 3 days a week, right? And you would initiate it. And then I never see you initiating. So I'm sharing the facts. This is the data, what I hear, what I see. Secondly, I'm going to share the stories I go into. What am I telling myself? You know, when I see you never reaching out and asking to do a check-in, then I start telling myself that he doesn't care about me. He really doesn't care about creating safety. I'm feeling disconnected. I'm not sure he even loves me. So when I put it in that framework, I can share so many hard things. I can share lots of stuff. Here's my stories. Thirdly, I share, here's how it makes me feel. I'm feeling like I can't trust you. I'm feeling like you don't care about my needs. I'm feeling like that you're not being consistent in showing up for me. And then the fourth step is you're going to share what the boundary is that, and I'm going to request that we do a check-in 3 times a week. And the consequences is if you don't do the check-ins, then you're not going to be safe. So I'm going to most likely pull away from you. If you would like, and I always tell my clients and my group members, make it win-win. If you want more closeness with me, if you want me to move towards you, one of the best things you can do is to do a check-in, as silly as that seems. Now, on your end, make sure your check-ins don't last 45 minutes. I'm going to tell you, if I were a recovering partner, right, and my betrayed partner wanted to do a check-in and they were an hour long, 45 minutes long, I don't know that I would want to do that. So how I teach my clients to do a check-in is very similar to what we do in group. We share what we're feeling. Sometimes it's just one feeling word. Sometimes it's in the areas of physically, emotionally, spiritually, relationally. Then we might share, you know, what we're currently working on in our recovery work. And then we might talk about a concern or a need. I think I've shared this before. My client came up with this in group. She uses the word fine. So feeling word is F. I is I'm going to share with you what my intention is today in regards to my own recovery work, or I'm going to share with you information you might need to know to help you feel safe in the relationship. N stands for a need. Here's what I need from you moving forward today, tomorrow, this week, until our next check-in. And E, express gratitude. If you can keep it simple like this, then the chances of you doing check-ins highly increases. We want it to be a positive connecting experience, because when it goes on and drags on and we start fighting and everything else, I see there's a lot of resistance. So check in, make the vulnerable request, let him know that the boundary is that if you choose not to do this, then I'm going to pull away. I'm hoping that you will do it, because then we're going to be more connected. And can I offer some ideas to make maybe our check-ins not so painful for you, or more productive for us, more positive? So that would be my approach.
I love that. And I always say 2 minutes for each of you, so it's less than 5 minutes. I keep it short. And I wonder, offer it, would it be helpful if we scheduled this? You can initiate it, but is there a certain day, like if we go Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 7 p.m. or what, I'm making it up, but is there a certain day and time? And we put it on our calendars. So we, he's initiating it sort of, but it's also, we're going to come together. We're going to meet in the kitchen. I don't know, whatever works. But, can there be a solution to help, and I'm not saying that you need to take the lion's share, but I would love it if it could turn into a positive. And and I really do think the 2 minutes, both of you, so it's not just an accountability and him showing up to check in, good boy, but it's both of you sharing, because that's communicating about what you're needing. I like the fine. I use Fanos too, but I love that fine. Great. That's how we connect with other people in a real and meaningful way. So we are past time. Thank you, Debbie, for hanging in there. Thank you all for joining. So next week we won't be here. Matt and Debbie are both busy. So 2 weeks from now, we'll be back on Friday, but join all the rest. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.